If any game can challenge Tears of the Kingdom, it's Starfield. If any game can be the biggest letdown and bust of the year, it's Starfield. It was one of the most in-depth previews and breakdowns of a game that we've gotten in a while. It had memes, it had fast-paced gameplay, and it was also breathtaking. But it's Bethesda, so it could also be unplayable, repetitive, or just empty. So let's break it down. If this game can succeed with what it just showed us, it's one of the best games ever. And if this game doesn't deliver, then there's plenty of potential for that. Cyberpunk's launch will be all but history, and Starfield will be left as stardust. My name's Alec, and here's the hoot. There's plenty of exciting features. In fact, you could say they showed way too many features. It felt like we were playing 5 different games inside this one RPG. It's a FPS, a management sim, a flight combat sim, a vehicle builder, walking exploration. If there's not a roguelike segment in this game, I'll be shocked. Each part of this puzzle has its positives and it has its negatives. Starting with the world, this world is huge. Todd Howard talks how he wants this to be their biggest game ever. From whole cities and colonies, which is not an unfamiliar task for Bethesda, but now they've moved on to a whole galaxy and universe, with the potential for 1,000 different planets where they're unique to your playthrough. It's in these planets you get to choose how you want to approach them. You just want to take it easy and explore, see a sunset, see the sights and animals and species, which they designed to not seem alien but just seem like natural species that would be there. Do you just need to resource collect and pillage this whole planet, or do you find whatever intelligent life is there and go to combat? Now, how are they gonna do 1,000 planets? A little thing called procedural generation, which is open to the potential. Are they gonna be empty? Is this gonna be repetitive? Is it even gonna be fun to explore all these planets? Hearing 1,000 planets and procedurally generated should be an instant concern and red flag for most people. Fallout 4 was notorious for pressing Garvey's same repeating quest that was supposed to support hours of gameplay. Everyone got tired of it, it's a huge meme, and no one likes it. Bethesda has talked how they'll actually do this. The way they seem to address it is that they've said it's the most content they've ever made. They've handcrafted many events and scenarios, and these handcrafted events will be placed on procedurally generated or random planets. So I think that essentially means they've written out all these different things that could happen. It's just what planet will it happen on could be random. It's just tons and tons of content. We all know what happened with No Man's Sky. They're not dumb. We've all seen it, but here's the thing. No Man's Sky is good now. So if they can learn from what No Man's Sky did, I think they have more resources and that they can figure this all out. Maybe the key to this procedural generation problem is just more content. Content is always going to be king. The customization. It's crazy because when I talk about customization, you have to follow up. Customization of what? The ships? Your crew? Your character? Yes to all of those questions. The character customizer is in-depth. Making a model for your character may not get as wonky as, say, a Street Fighter, but I think we got one that can make pretty good looking characters. But to be fair, good character makers aren't anything novel nowadays. At this point, it's just, do you want realistic? Do you want anime? Do you want fun? What'll set this one apart is the background systems and skill trees. With the backgrounds playing with a story, which is what I think Cyberpunk shot for but didn't really flesh out. It's not as new to a Bethesda game because they did have traits, but it seems like they took time to consider to give it more of a section of the game. The backgrounds playing a part with the story is what I think Cyberpunk was shooting for but never really fleshed out. In the past, Bethesda has given you traits to affect the gameplay, but this should affect your story arc. Part of a creator character is making your character feel like someone you created. You're playing your character. I think this really helps to make you feel unique that you're making somebody as part of this game. The skill tree being more progression based as opposed to play and put points is a nice change. Special was always a cool little system, if not simple. These aren't groundbreaking, at least on the surface, and it's to be seen how much of a difference this will make in play. To be fair, I think I have more hope in the abilities than the backgrounds and how much it'll affect gameplay, but I'm open to surprises. But the customization I think people actually lose the most time in will be the shipbuilding. When Fallout/Skyrim in space was announced, no one really thought they would go this far, or that they even needed to. And at last year's conference, we were impressed. This sounded super ambitious. I mean, the system couldn't be too crazy. Could it be any better than Kingdom Hearts gummy ships? Every aspect, from the parts and how they actually affect how well you travel, to the amount of fuel you have, to how much it uses and how far you can go. And when I say the parts, I mean every part. The cockpit, the engine, control stations, fuel tanks, landers, cowls, cannons, lasers, reactors. I don't even take the time to play Microsoft Flight Simulator. And it's reflected in the world. You can see it at your various landing docks. You can be really cool or you can be really funny. Who needs to mod the Millennium Falcon if you can just build one yourself? It's a level of customization every nerd has wanted. It's like if Star Citizen knew how to spend their money, but they also wanted to finish the game. Even the fact that the interiors are an aspect you gotta keep up with. which leads into manning a whole crew, making it a thriving place you made and live. I guess the issue and drawback of this would be, is it too ambitious? Is this what's leading to the lock at 30 FPS? Side note, I just don't think that's that big of a deal. But will this become too tedious? Will everything be viable? And can they compete with all these demons they're making in Tears of the Kingdom? And the last thing is the combat. It looked much more improved in the showcase, with a new gunsmith changing parts and crafting new mods, adding things like sights, muzzles, lasers, and mags. Also, earlier we were talking about builds and how that affects your ability to do combat. It even looks like there may be some supernatural powers to this game. Okay, and they love showing off this jetpack gameplay. All of this may come down to preference. I mean, it's easier than Valorant, so honestly, I think I like this better already. But the AI isn't always the smartest. Will they even be challenging? Which people argue shouldn't be difficult anyway. How are your companions in combat? Are enemies actually smart? Bethesda combat is like hit and miss for some people. It's like good enough. I don't think anyone's ever walked away like this is the best. But I think this whole idea of playing how you want has really thrived in gaming when you're looking at stuff like Tears of the Kingdom, like an Elden Ring. Play however you want, and it seems like Starfield wants to give us that chance. For each great thing you can talk about Starfield, there is a drawback for all of them. Sometimes I feel like it's a stretch, but why do you always have to go into Bethesda games with a little hesitance? The bugs. Enemies glitching, stuff crashing, the game just not working, your save file could mess up. I mean, imagine a system where they just load every enemy under the map and that crushes your game. This game has so many systems working, there's no way it all works flawlessly. They say it's gonna have the least amount of bugs ever. Okay, I don't think that's as big of a flex as they think it is. But even then, aren't bugs some of Bethesda's charm? But what if the story is one of their best narratives? What if the actual canon worlds will be some of their best gameplay? It's still fair to say it may not outshine Tears of the Kingdom and Spider-Man if it really isn't perfect at launch. Spider-Man, I have no doubt, will be polished with Insomniac's track record, and Tears of the Kingdom is easily the frontrunner as of this moment with the amount of things you can do and how well polished it is. But come September, will we see the next biggest game ever? Let me know what you think about Starfield in the comments. Follow for more gaming discussion. Hey, my name's Alec. Thanks for talking games with me.